Hey, this is Chen again. Today I'm going to show you how to do berry sampling in a vineyard. Berry sampling is really good for tracking the maturity of your grapes throughout the year and for research purposes or analyses purposes for your composition of your fruit. There are a lot of ways that we can do berry sampling, but what we want is to be the most consistent as well as random, which sounds like they contradict each other. But today I'll show you how to sample berries so that you get that outcome as best you can. When you're sampling for berries, you want to make sure that you flag the vines that you're sampling from, so you sample from the same ones every time. In this case, I have them flagged with red tape. These will be my 5 grapevines that I take berry samples from.
When sampling berries from grape clusters, it's important to be as random and representative as possible. This can be difficult to achieve as most samplers have some bias towards specific berry features. This could be larger or smaller berries, darker or lighter colored berries, or a bias of location on the cluster, to name a few examples. To help mitigate this issue, we sample berries in the method displayed here. The basic recommendations for sampling are as follows. Take no more than one berry from each sampled cluster. This helps improve representation of the whole experiment in your sample set by including more clusters in the final berry sample. Try to sample berries in a helix pattern across multiple clusters. That means you might take a grape from the top of cluster 4, but the bottom of cluster 3 in your sample set. Try not to look at the berries you're sampling before they're selected. This one's difficult and may be most useful to those new to sampling fruit. You can improve your skill in randomly selecting berries from a predetermined location by closing your eyes and feeling for the first berry your fingers grasp. This will be the one that you sample for that cluster. Imagine sampling from a DNA double helix or an RNA helix, but each sample comes from a different source. And try not to sample based on berry size, color, or by location on the cluster.
You'll notice if you watch my other video that I also have a stem water potential bag on this vine, which will occur after berry sampling. But if we're berry sampling, we want to make sure that we only take one berry per cluster. That gives a more representative sample because more clusters are represented in the final grouping of berries that you collected. When you're collecting berries, you want to only take berries from different areas around the grape, like so. And you only want one per cluster. So what I like to do is imagine a cluster floating in space like this, and I'm going to sample from here, 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 and the bottom across multiple clusters. But my imaginary cluster, I'm just sampling in a circle. So what you want to do when you sample the berries is identify the berry you want first, which is the hardest part, because remember, we want to be as random as possible, as representative as possible, and as unbiased as possible, which is very hard to do all at once. When we're doing this and choosing a berry, if you're new to this, I recommend picking the area that you're going to sample from. So the top, the middle, the bottom, the front, the back, closing your eyes and reaching for that area. And the first berry that you feel is the one you should sample. Until you get the hang of sampling representatively, this is the best way to select berries. A lot of people who are sampling may have a bias toward larger grapes, ones with different color or deeper red colors, smaller berries. We don't want that. We want to make sure everything's represented as much as possible. So in this case, I did this. I grabbed this one. So now I'm going to take it. You can use shears for this. And you want to pluck it off with the pedicel or the stem of the berry. This prevents dehydration as you collect more samples throughout the day. So what you want to do is put this in a sampling bag, and I'll show you that next. So here's a new cluster, and you can see that we already sampled from up here on the other clusters. So I'm going to say the middle front is going to be where I sample from next, and this is the berry that I grabbed. So I'm going to pinch off the berry with the pedicel, and now I'm going to put it in this bag. This bag is a whirl pack. These are the best for berry sampling. They can be a little costly, so you don't need them every time. But what they do is after you put the berries in the whirl pack, you can spin it. That's why it's called the whirl pack. And when you spin it, it ends up with an air pocket so that the fruit inside is protected. So you can put it in a cooler all together, and there's a little air bubble in there that prevents the grapes from getting smushed by other grapes or ice or whatever it is. Another common question with berry sampling is, how many berries do I need to take? So I flagged out about 5 grapevines here, and the general rule or recommendation is to take between 50 and 100 berries per panel. These 5 vines that I have that are flagged in red, like so, those are my panel. So I'm going to take 50 to 100 vines from them. And if you do the math, that's about 10 grapes per grapevine, from 10 different clusters per grapevine. So each cluster we only take 1 berry. Unless I'm doing 100 berries, then I take 20 grapes per grapevine. And that would be from 20 different clusters on each grapevine. Once you have all the berries, the last thing you need is a cooler. Coolers are really important for keeping the berries fresh, especially if you're not going to process the samples right away. Make sure you bring an ice pack with you for the cooler. And then you're going to take them to either the place you're submitting the berry sample or to your own laboratory, where you'll process the grapes, usually by smashing them, for Bregg's, pH, TA, and whatever else you need. Well, that does it for this video. I hope you found it useful. If you have any questions, you can contact me. My name is Christopher Chen. I am a UC Cooperative Extension Advisor in viticulture for the North Coast regions of California. And you can contact me at my email or via my website at ucanr.edu/sites/ChenLab. Thanks.